Notice, this book is produced in Daisy Digital Talking Book, Daisy Text only, and in print format for people with bona fide print disability by V4U. This book is created for special distribution for the print disabled in accordance with Section 52 Clause 1 Subclause ZB of the Copyright Act of India as amended in 2012. The Daisy Digital Talking Book, Daisy Text only, Braille book is permitted to be used only by persons with print disabilities. Any further reproduction, distribution to any person without a print disability or any commercial use of this book is strictly prohibited and will be subject to a legal action.
Invitation to English 1. Poetry, Chapter 1. Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. Robert Frost. Introducing the author. Robert Lee Frost, bracket 1874 to 1963, bracket N, is one of the most popular and critically acclaimed American poet. He is highly regarded for his realistic depiction of rural life and his command of American colloquial speech. His poetry reveals a keen interest in the varying beauties of nature and the apparently small but deeply meaningful joys and sorrows of ordinary man and woman. Warm-up. Do you know this poem was a great favorite of Jawaharlal Nehru? Perhaps this poem reminded him of his responsibility. On the surface, this is a simple poem. The speaker stops his horse by some wood on a snowing evening. He takes in the lovely scene in near silence, is tempted to stay longer, but acknowledges the pull of obligation and the considerable distance yet to be traveled before he can rest for the night. But at the deeper level, the journey through the woods is suggestive of journey through life itself. The speaker stops for a brief time to meditate and realizes that he needs to continue his journey. The famous phrase, "and miles to go before I sleep," not only refers to the physical distance of the trip, but also the long life ahead of him. Read the poem and feel how inspiring it is. The text, "Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year, he gives his harness bell a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I promise to keep. And miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep." Glossary. Woods mean an area of trees smaller than a forest. Little means humble, ordinary. Queer means strange. Harness bell means small base attached to a strap, band around the neck of horse, which tinkle as the horse moves. Flake, pieces of snow which are soft, light and white as feather. Easy wind and downy flake, easily flowing wind and falling snow a distance of 1.6 kilometers. Lovely, dark and deep. Only the poet is fascinated by the woods, the owner and the horse are not. Invitation to English 1. Poetry, Chapter 2. Oft in the Steely Night, Thomas Moore. Introducing the poet. Thomas Moore, bracket 1779 to 1852, bracket N, is an Irish poet, satirist, composer and political propagandist. Warm-up. Memories, sweet or sad, always live with us. We cherish fond memories. Elderly people who have very little to look forward to often recall friendship and past incident. Nostalgia haunts them. Thomas Moore canvasses the memories of the past and present in this poem. It is one of the finest songs of Moore with complete adaptation of words to music and music to verse along with a high quality, a political merit in the verse. Read this poem and note how the poet longs for the days gone by and the dear ones who have passed away. The text. Oft in the steely night, airy slumber's chain has bound me. Fond memory brings the light of other days around me. The smiles, the tears of boyhood's years, the words of love then spoken, the eyes that shone. Now dimmed and gone, the cheerful hearts now broken. Thus in the steely night, airy slumber chain hath bound me, sad memory bring the light. Of other days around me, one I remember all the friends so linked together I have seen around me fall. Like leaves in wintry weather, I feel like one who treats alone. Some banquet hall deserted, whose lights are fled, whose grassland dead, and all but he departed. Thus in the stilly night, ere slumber's chain has bound me, sad memory bring the light of others' day around me. Glossary. Oft mean often. Stilly means quiet, calm. Slumber mean deep sleep. Tread mean to walk. Banquet mean a formal meal for a large number of people, usually on special occasion. Departed mean dead. Invitation to English 1. Poetry, Chapter 3. The Inch Cap Rock. Robert Southey. Introducing the author. Robert Southey, bracket, 12 August 1774 to 21 March 1843, bracketing, was an English romantic poet and poet laureate from 1813 to his death in 1843. He is a prolific letter writer, literary scholar, essay writer, historian, and biographer. Warm-up. The Inch Cap Rock is a perilous reef off the east coast of Scotland near the mouth of the River Tay. The rock was few inches above the surface of the sea in low tide and was completely covered by the sea in high tide or when the sea was rough. Many ships have been wrecked by this Inch Cap Rock when it was covered by the sea. This poem is based on this notorious Inch Cap Rock. In this poem, Southey declared the evil doing of Sir Ralph the Rover, who plays with his life for the crime of removing the Inch Cap Bell and his signs against humanity. Read the following unit of the text and note how dangerous the Inch Cap Rock was. Unit 1. The text. No steer in the air, no steer in the sea. The ship was still as she could be. Her sails from heaven received no motion. Her keel was ready in the ocean. Without either sign or sound of their shock, the waves flowed over the Inch Cap Rock. So little they rose, so little they fell, they did not move the Inch Cap Bell. The abbot of Aberbrothock had placed the bell on the Inch Cap Rock. On a buoy in the stream, it floated and swung, and over the waves its warning rung. When the rock was hit by the surge swell, the mariners heard the warning bell, and then they knew the perilous rock and blessed the abbot of Aberbrothock. Glossary. Keel means bottom part of the ship. Buoy means a floating object on the sea to mark a dangerous place. Surge swell mean rise of the tidal wave. Mariner mean sailor. Unit 2. Warm-up. The wicked people get pleasure by causing pain to others, don't they? Read the following unit of the text and note how a wicked person like Sir Ralph the Rover does mischief out of malice towards the abbot. The text. The sun in heaven was shining gay. All things were joyful on that day. The sea birds screamed as they wheeled round, and there was joyance in their sound. The buoy of the Inch Cap Bell was seen, a darker speck on the ocean green. Sir Ralph the Rover worked his deck, and he fixed his eye on the darker speck. He felt the cheering power of spring. It made him whistle, it made him sing. His heart was mirthful to excess, but the rover's mirth was wickedness. His eye was on the Inch Cap float. Quoth he, my pen, put out the boat, and row me to the Inch Cap Rock, and I plugged the abbot of Aberbrothock. The boat is lowered, the boatmen row, and to the Inch Cap Rock they go. Sir Ralph bent over from the boat, and he cut the bell from the Inch Cap float. Down sunk the bell with a grundling sound. The bubbles rose and burst around. Quoth Sir Ralph, the next who comes to the rock, on bless the abbot of Aberbrothock. Glossary. Bow means a floating object afloat. Speck means a very small spot. Mirth means delight. Quoth means said. Plug means cause pain. Unit 3. Warm up. Do you know? Sign always recoils on the signer. Read the following unit of the text. Note how Sir Ralph, the robber, pays for the sins he has committed. The text. Sir Ralph, the robber, sailed away. He scoured the seas for many a day, and now grown rich with plunder store, he steers his course for Scotland sore. So thick a hedge, oh, earth spreads the sky. They cannot see the sun on high. The wind hath blown gale all day. At evening it hath died away. On the deck the robber takes his stand. So dark it is they see no land. Quoth Sir Ralph, it will be lighter soon, for that is dawn of the rising moon. Canst hear, said one, the breakers roar, for methinks we should be near the shore. Now, where we are I cannot feel, but I wish I could hear the Inchcape bell. They hear no sound, the swell is strong, though the wind hath fallen, the drift along, till the vessel strike with a shivering shock. O Christ, it is the Inchcape rock. Sir Ralph, the robber, tore his hair, he cursed him in his despair. The waves rush in on every side, the ship is sinking beneath the tide. But even in his dying fear, one dreadful sound could the robber hear, a sound as if with the Inchcape bell the devil below was ringing his knell. Glossary. Plunder means loot. Hedge means fog. Gale means storm. Canst mean can. Invitation to English 1. Chapter 4. Poetry. To my true friend, Elizabeth Pennard. Warm-up. We meet our true friend only once in a lifetime. The greatest gift is not found in a mall, but in the hearts of a true friend. Friendship is a relationship between two persons who hold mutual affection for each other. The value of friendship is often the result of friends consistently demonstrating the desire to do what is best for the other, showing mutual understanding, emotional support, and compassion. Friendship is also marked by enjoyment of each other's company, trust in each other, and positive reciprocity. Read the poem and note how the poet cherishes the memories of our friend. The text. The day I met you, I found a friend, and a friendship that I pray will never end. Your smile so sweet and so bright kept me going when day was as dark as night. You never ever judged me, you understand my sorrow. Then you told me it needn't be that way, and gave me the hope of a better tomorrow. You were always there for me. I knew I could count on you. You gave me advice and encouragement whenever I didn't know what to do. You helped me learn to love myself. You made life seem so good. You said I can do anything I put my mind to. I knew I could. There was times when we didn't see eye to eye, and there were days when both of us cried. But even so we made it through. Our friendship hasn't yet died. Circumstances have pulled us apart. We are separated by many miles. Truly the only thing that keeps me going is my treasured memory of your smile. This friendship we share is so precious to me. I hope it grows and flourishes and lasts unto infinity. You are so extra special to me, and so this is you I really must tell. You are my one true friend, my guardian angel. Our friendship is one in a million, so let's hold on to it and each other. We cannot let this chance of pure bliss fly away, for there will never be another. I love you. I will always love you. Glossary. When day was as dark as night, when the poet was passing through a difficult time. Never judge mean never formed opinion on, taken for granted. Guardian angel mean one who protects and guides. Invitation to English 1. Poetry, Chapter 5. Fishing. Goparanjan Mishra. Warm-up. Poetry is first of all for enjoyment. The musical quality as well as the rhythm of a poem are its foremost attraction. Many poems also tell us a fascinating story. Fishing is such a poem with both the qualities, music and charm. In this poem, the poet seems to convey the idea that an act of kindness is a rich source of joy. Read the poem and note what the speaker plans to do and what he ends up with. The text. Like a seasoned angler, sure of his speed, with fishing rod and line and bait, I said, you all wait for me. Fish fry tonight our dinner will be. Though none of them did say a word, on my face yet I hear. Some chuckles sure at my back. I told myself, let me come back. To the nearby pond I straight away ran, with fishing tackle and of course a can. The minutes passed, and the hours dragged. It seems no luck that day I had. I thought, faceless, I had returned home, and would face the jeers of some. I threw my line with a fervent wish, "O God, today please give me a face." And lo, the float sank, rose again, and popped its head to tell me then, "This is just the time, you man, to catch a fish if you can." Without delay I pulled the string, and what a catch did it bring! A 1 foot fish, bright and fair, that wriggled and wriggled in the air. At this my joy knew no bound. I ran excited round and round, but with a gasping mouth and wistful look, it seemed to say, "Please unhook me and let me go again to my home, my watery den." I did think of my 3 hours' labor and the spicy fish fry flavor. Back home, some mocking face would stare, for nothing, however, I did care. As the sun was sinking behind the hill, a strange feeling my heart did fill. In the evening's crimson glow, with greater joy I let it go. Glossary. Season means with a lot of experience in a particular kind of work. Angler mean one who fishes with an angle, a hook attached to a fishing line. Bait mean food put on a hook to catch fish. Chuckle mean silent laugher. Fishing tackle mean all the equipment such as rod, line, bait, etc. used in angling. Jeers mean taunts, rude remark. Invitation to English 1, Poetry 6, Daffodils. William Wordsworth. Introducing the poet. William Wordsworth (1770 to 1850) is one of the major poets of his time. He was honored as England Poets Laureate. He defined poetry as spontaneous overflow of powerful feeling arising from emotion recollected in tranquility. He is a poet of nature and used common words to express his feelings. Warm up. This poem incorporates the ideas and aspects essential to romantic poetry. The field of daffodil is evidently the subject of this poem, making nature the most apparent feature throughout. Wordsworth adds a range of natural images such as lake, trees, stars, and even clouds in this poem. Through nature and tranquil mood is instantly created from the very first line, "I wandered lonely as a cloud." The atmosphere of the poem is very peaceful, and the use of nature creates a joyful setting. Not until the poet later musses about what he saw does he fully appreciate the cheerful sight of the dancing daffodil. Study the poem and note how Wordsworth glorifies the beauty of nature and bliss of solitude. The text. "I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hill, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodil, beside the lake beneath the tree, fluttering and dancing in the breeze." Continues as the star, the sign, and twinkle on the Milky Way, the stretch is never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their head in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling wave in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the blaze of solitude, and they my heart with pleasure fill, and dances with the daffodil. Glossary. Daffodil mean bell-shaped flowers of golden yellow color and beautiful fragrance that bloom in early spring, usually by the side of lake. Lonely as a cloud mean as a single patch of cloud floats freely in the sky. A host of mean a large number of. Fluttering mean moving to and fro the wind. Milky Way mean the broad luminous band of stars encircling the sky, the galaxy. Margin mean the border. Sprightly mean lively. Outdid in glee mean the daffodil in cheerfulness and brightness surpass the wave. Jocund mean merry. Little thought mean no thought. Oft mean often, maritime. Vacant mean free from thought. Pensive mean thoughtful. Flash mean appear suddenly. Inward eye mean mind's eye. Bliss mean perfect happiness, great joy. Solitude mean the state of loneliness. Invitation to English 1. Poetry, Chapter 7. The Ballad of Father Gilligan. William Butler Yeats. Introducing the author. William Butler Yeats, bracket, 1865 to 1939, bracketing, is the Irish poet, dramatist, and mystic. He was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1923. Warm-up. The Ballad of Father Gilligan has a ballad form, a narrative poem usually sung with regular short stanza that tell a story. In this poem, Yeats narrates a profoundly meaningful story, and it has a more overtly religious content than most of his poems. The story is about a priest who, being emotionally and physically worn out, fell into deep slumber. As he woke up, he was horrified by the fact that he could not make it to the bedside of the sick man before he died, and that no one had performed the rites of blessing for the dying. The divine presence in this guise of the priest is an affirmation of a loving and kind God. Study the poem and find out how he has to glorify God. The text. The old priest Peter Gilligan was weary night and day, for half his flock were in their bed, or under green sword lay. Once, while he nodded on a chair at the moth hour of eve, another poor man sent for him, and he began to grieve. I have no rest, nor joy, nor peace, for people die and die. And after cried he, God forgive, my body spake, not I. He knelt and leaning on the chair, he prayed and fell asleep, and the moth hour went from the field. And stars began to peep. They slowly into million grew, and leaves shook in the wind, and God covered the world with sad and whispered to mankind. Upon the time of sparrow's cheep, when the moth came once more, the old priest Peter Gilligan stood upright on the floor. Mavron, Mavron, the man has died. While I slept on the chair, he roused his horse out of its sleep, and rode with little care. He rode, now as he never rode, by rocky lane and fen. The sick man's wife opened the door. Father, you come again. And is the poor man dead? He cried. He died an hour ago. The old priest Peter Gilligan in grief swayed to and fro. When you were gone, he turned and died, as merry as bard. The old priest Peter Gilligan, he knelt him at that word. He who hath made the night of stars for souls who tire and bleed, sent one of his great angels down to help me in my need. He who he wrapped in purple robe with planets in his care had pity on the list of things asleep upon a chair. Glossary. Priest mean also called father, a person who perform religious rite of the church. Flock mean members of a parish locality around the church. Bracket, they are like the flock of sheep and Father Gilligan, they are shepherd. Bracketing. Sod mean upper layer of the grassland. Bracket, under the sod in grape. Bracketing. Moth hour of eve means the time just before evening. Bracket, moths are winged insect, flying at dawn and dusk. Eve, poetic form for evening. Bracketing. Mabron, Mabron means a cry of grief in Irish, my sorrow, alas. Fen mean wet, marshland. Invitation to English 1. Poetry 8. Islam of Life. Henry Wordsworth Longfellow. Introducing the poet. Henry Wordsworth Longfellow, bracket 1807 to 1882, bracket n, is an American poet and educator. In 1884, he is the first citizen of the United States to be honored in Poets' Corner of Westminster, away in London, England. Warm-up. Islam of Life is one of the most inspirational poems in literature for the lesson on life which it illustrates. The speaker believes that life is a solemn virtue and that the only way to live it is by making it worthwhile, by becoming a good influence for the future generation, and suggests that as long as one lives, one must progress further than before and provide impetus for others to create their own footprint. This poem belonged to the genre of poet called Carpe Diem poems. Carpe diem, popularly translated as seize the day, is a phrase from a Latin poem by Horace. These poems inspire us to make the most of time. Read through the poem and note how the poet urges us not to think that life is sad and purposeless, and how he inspires us to conduct ourselves each day in such a way that we may find ourselves every day better than before, striving hard and leaving the results to God. The text: Tell me not in mournful number, life is but an empty dream. For the soul is dead that slumber, and things are not what they seem. Life is real, life is earnest, and the grave is not its goal. Dust through art, the dust, though returnest, was not spoken of the soul. Not enjoyment or not sorrow is our destined end or way, but to act that each tomorrow finds us farther than today. Art is long and time is fleeting, and our heart, though stout and brave, still like muffled drum are beating funeral marches to the grave. In the world's broad field of battle, in the wide walk of life, be not like dumb, driven cattle, be your hero in the strife. Trust no future, however pleasant. Let the dead past bury its dead. Act in the living present. Heart within, and God overhead. Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime. And departing, leaving behind us footprints on the sand of time, footprints that perhaps another, sailing our lives solemn men. If forlorn and shipwrecked bother, seeing shall take heart again, let us then be up and doing with a heart for any fate, still achieving, till pursuing, learn to labor and to wait. Glossary: Islam means a song or hymn. Mournful number means sorrowful songs. Slumber means sleep. Earnest means serious. Dust returnest mean a quotation for the Bible regarding the mortality of the human body. Destined mean predetermined. Act mean to do one's duty. Fleeting mean passing quickly. Art mean learning knowledge. Muffled drum mean at a funeral, drums are covered with a cloth to deaden the sound and make it more solemn. Bivouac mean a temporary camp used by soldiers. Footprint in the sands of time mean great deed in the history of man. Be not strip mean do not submit, fight. Sublime means noble. Departing mean when we die. Men, ocean. A forlorn and shipwrecked bother, one who had failed in life and is distressed at his own moral and material ruin. Heart for any fate mean courage to face any situation. Shall take heart again means other following us will know that we too have had the experiences and shall overcome hardship. Invitation to English 1. Poetry 9. Television Roald Dahl. Introducing the poet. Roald Dahl bracket 1916 to 1990 bracketing is a British novelist, short story writer, poet, fighter pilot and screenwriter. He has written children's tale, mysteries for adult and witty poetry for all. Warm up. Young children spend a lot of time in screening viewing activities like playing video games and watching movies, as well as cartoon picture. They watch television with fascination, all while snacking and quickly grow lump. It is a problem many parents struggle with. In this poem, Dahl even suggests that television actually becomes a harmful addiction for children who watch too much and become hypnotized by that fictional world. Read the poem and note how the poet presents the dangers of watching television and the problems of television addict. The text. The most important thing we have learned so far as children are concerned is never, never, never let them near a television set, or better still, just don't install the idioting thing at all. In almost every house we watched them gaping at the screen. They loll and slop along about and stare until their eyes pop out. Bracket, last week in someone's place we saw a dozen eyeballs on the floor. Bracket in. They sit and stare and stare and sit. until they are hypnotized by it, until they are absolutely drunk with all that shocking, ghastly junk. Oh, yes, we know it keeps them still. They don't climb out the window sill, they never fight or kick or punch. They leave you free to cook the lunch and wash the dishes in the sink. But did you ever stop to think, to wonder just exactly what this does to your beloved thought? It rots the sense in the head. It kills imagination dead. It clogs and clutters up the mind. It makes a child so dull and blind, he can no longer understand. A fantasy, a fairyland, his brain becomes as soft as cheese. His powers of thinking rust and freeze. He cannot think, he only sees. Glossary. Idiotic thing means a television is called an idiot box. Loll and slop and long about means sit or lie leisurely while eating and speaking snack. Hypnotized mean charmed, may still as if by a spell. Ghastly mean horrible, very alarming. Junk mean rubbish things of little value. Tot mean child. Clog mean block, chalk. Clutter mean to fill with too many things. Fantasy mean a pleasant imaginary situation. Invitation to English 1. Poetry 10. Money Madness. D.H. Lawrence. Introducing the poet. David Herbert Richard Lawrence, bracket 1885 to 1930, bracket N, is an English novelist, poet, playwright, essayist, literary critic, and painter. His collected works represent an extended reflection upon the dehumanizing effects of modernity and industrialization. In them, Lawrence confronts issues relating to emotional health and vitality, spontaneity, and instinct. Warm up. Craze for money seems to have gripped the modern world. In today's world, people need money to have access to things. Without money, they are really lost and don't know what to do. Without money, they may end up on the street. The rich are therefore admired for their wealth and prosperity, and the poor are hated for their poverty and adversity. But the money has been the root, if not of all evil, of great misery to the human race. Money turns men insane. Read the poem and note how the poet pleads for a society without money. The text. Money is our madness, our vast collective madness. And of course, if the multitude is mad, the individual carries his own grain of insanity around with him. I doubt if any man leaving hands out a pound note without a pang and a real tremor if he hands out a 10-pound note. We quail. Money makes us quail. It has got us down. We grovel before it in strange terror. And no wonder, for money has fearful, cruel power among them. But it is not money we are so terrified of. It is the collective money madness of mankind. For mankind say with one voice, how much is he owed? He has no money? Then let him a dirt and go cold. And if I have no money, they will give me a little bread so I do not die, but they will make me eat dirt with it. I shall have to eat dirt. I shall have to eat dirt. If I have no money, it is that I am frightened of, and that fear can become a delirium. It is fear of my money mad fellow men. We must have some money to save us from eating dirt, and this is all wrong. Bread should be free, shelter should be free, fire should be free to all and anybody, all over the world. We must regain our sanity about money before we start killing one another about it. It's one thing or the other. Glossary. Insanity means madness. Pang means a sharp, sudden feeling of pain. Quail means feel or show fear. A delirium means wild excitement.